What was school like? You know, you're the nerd, the jock.
No, I was definitely a bit more of a jock. Academics wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did okay, but yeah, wasn't easy.
What was your first sport? What was the first sport you got on?
Parents put me into football.
Football.
And athletics basically at the same time. So we had a winter sport and a summer sport.
You look like you could be in rugby. You look like you could be in the scrum, mate.
No. It's all the jackets.
It's all the jackets. You just laying it up, mate. Do you still do sport now? Like, how do you keep?
No, I watch sport.
You
my
watch
kids,
sport?
Yeah, no, my kids did all their sports, and my oldest still involved in hockey. So I just go and watch sport.
Do you do any way? How do you keep fit? Or just still not?
Oh yeah, no, I still do go to the home gym.
Oh yeah.
Every now and then, yeah.
Because I heard the biggest determiner of longevity is like exercise.
Yeah, it is, and I must admit, you know, as you get older, the muscles and the tendons get a bit harder to move, just in regards to all the things that you've done in the past.
Yeah. Have you learned like things that you've learned now that you're older about that you wish you did back then? Whether it's like stretching, whether it's having a process for exercise.
No, I was more active back then. Obviously, you, when you're doing your training all the time, you're always stretching, you're always going to the gym, you know, weights. But I was quite a tall, skinny lad. I always found it hard to put on size.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I was, to be honest, it's not until the last, maybe 20 years that I've actually put on a little bit of size. Other than that, it was very, very hard. Eat what I wanted to do. You know, I was one of those people that you could eat and nothing would happen. But then you get to your sort of late 30s and it all changes.
Yeah.
Especially you stop exercising, you stop doing all the running and all the other bits and pieces.
Well, I put on 20 kilos in the last 5 years, and it was purely because I was doing less than 1,000 steps.
Right.
So I was just hustling and I wasn't moving. I was like, oh, fuck, that's not good. So now I've started walking. I've lost 11 kilos.
Oh, okay.
Walking and exercising 10 minutes every day.
Yeah.
It's like fucking, It's crazy how little it takes to.
Oh, true. And I a while back I got a Fitbit, and obviously doing the walks, you do your 10,000 steps you're supposed to do each day and so forth. I was doing that, but you know, when you enjoy life a little bit more, you know, you got to do more.
You do. I'll come to that stage.
To be able to burn it off, yeah.
So, what was there any sport that you like really got stuck into? Like the decathlon, was that your main sport, or what was your? Yeah,
I did. As I said, in winter I did football and did all the way up to 16, 17. Did play first 11, and at the same time then did athletics. I had to make a choice. Obviously, as soon as you get high school, when you're sort of in your 16, 17, 18, you got to then start to think about where you want to be. I ended up just focusing a bit more on my athletics. I enjoyed the athletics. You know, I master of many, but not an expert of any of them. So, or the other way around. I could be competitive in most of the events, but I was never sort of good enough to be sort of that 1, 2, 3. I was always 4, 5, 6.
All right.
So then I added them all together, and then I did better.
Yeah, go on then. I know you're a humble fuck, but
no.
what
No. I probably second, third, fourth, depending on what the competition was.
And reps or in school? Or?
I did all the reps for the.
Oh, did you?
For soccer, and I did basketball as well. And
basketball, what position? Shooting guard?
No, I was a forward.
You were forward?
Yeah, well, I was.
But you were small and skinny.
No, I was tall and skinny.
Ah, yeah.
So I was almost 6 foot when I intermediate, third form.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was taller than most.
You were 6 foot at intermediate.
Most of the I did all my growth early on, and then I stopped, and everybody else caught up. So I was probably close to 6 foot intermediate, and I was a forward. You know, I was forward at high school. Yeah,
I played since I was 7. I was under 50 kilos until 17.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
5'6".
Yeah.
So basketball wasn't my calling, but I fucking loved it.
Yeah, well, I did. It was only high school that I picked it up, because it was one of the activities you did, and they played it on a Friday night. So, you know, I was trained sort of a Tuesday, Thursday, and the game was on a Friday, and so that was cool. And then I had my football, which was on a Saturday, and then athletics was the same with the weekends when it comes summer. So
Does it get harder as like you get older and that camaraderie? I feel like men almost need an outlet for aggression, which sounds a little fucked up, but like competitiveness, you know?
Yeah, I think to a point, but as I said, I think it's just a camaraderie. You know, it's always good to be in a group of guys, and you know, you're playing, you're training, you're always talking and do things. Because again, you know, I found that was the only way that I intermingled my team sports. You know, academically, as I said, I wasn't that flash, so therefore I didn't really want to do too much. But sport was my outlet.
And you talked off here about being introverted. Sales isn't usually the calling for an introvert.
No, it's not.
how have you? Because people used to petrify me.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better at it. That's why I did commission only sales. So get rejected by hundreds of people a day and talk to 40. You sort of learn. What has been helpful for you in facing the fear? My
wife, because I only started. Like I was employed with a bank effectively initially. Started off left school, fitness instructor, against my sporting background, and then from there I got interviewed for a bank. Me and my wife at that time, and she was working for the bank, and they were going through some changes. So I went and interviewed, and in fact it was with the branch manager at the time, and he sort of, you know, they were looking for, you know, I guess some additional people to get in there on the lending side of things, and I got on well with him, and he got me a role in the bank, and then hey presto, that's where I was, and I was there for 9 years. Wow. So I didn't have to do any sales there. Effectively, people just came to me, so as they do with the bank. So that was cool. But then it wasn't until I sort of got to a position, lending branch manager mobiles, and then I thought, I'll look to go out on my own. And there was a couple of other branch managers at the same time as me. They all went out into brokering and sort of encouraged me to do the same thing. And I thought, and that's when I really got into, I guess you could say, sales, because left the bank, left people coming to me, and then I had to go out
find them.
And then part of our connection was with the Ray White group, and open homes and phoning people up, and and I had my wife there was helping to make phone calls as well, just to get interviews, opportunities, and so forth.
Jeez. So cold calling people that went to open homes, or just cold calling?
No, open homes. Generally, I went to open homes. So I'd go there myself, hand out my cards or take some numbers, and then
shaking in the corner.
Just introduced. That was all new. Yeah.
I hate going to events. So I just sit in the corner and look for the stragglers, like the awkward one on their own. I'm like, oh, hey, it gets me going. Yeah, well, when there was one or two, it wasn't quite so bad. But if there was it was quite busy and there was 5, 6, 7, 8, a dozen people, then but standoffish and sit back and waiting for people. Or the agents were pretty good at time as well, and just sort of introduced me and whatever. So you turn up to these open homes, have cards, and just hand them. Say, hey, when you're ready to buy a house, I've got the mortgage.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much it.
Jesus. And then you'd call them, or how did you?
Yeah, you call them, have a bit of a chat, and sort of get, I guess, that rapport. And they said, keen, and go and see them. And then, sit down and go through all the rigmarole applications and details.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I remember, so the first time I had to do face my fear and go and stop someone. We had to stop them in a shopping centre.
Yep.
And I went to stop the guy, and they told you got to build a relationship.
Yep.
And I went to shake his hand, but he was holding bags.
Yes.
And I was having a meltdown, so I shook his thumb.
Yep.
And he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, trying to build a relationship."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Fuck." So what have been your, I guess, lessons around being afraid but still doing it?
I guess it's one of those things you just realising there's many others that are out there doing the same thing. So it's either you do it or you miss out and somebody else will do it. So, but I was it was still hard, and it's still hard now, to be honest, at times. If there's people that I know and I get introduced, and hey, that's fine, or it's a general topic around what I like, which is sport and mortgages, then hey, that's fine. Anything outside that, I don't I don't chat too much. Outside of things.
Have you learned around the sales, like around the calling? Because I imagine you're more, rapport, try to solve problems. But have you learned sort of tips?
The rapport side of things has always just been empathetic. I think everybody's there, and if people are looking for a mortgage for the first time, they don't know what they need to do, or they've been told some information that's not quite right. So it's just a matter of just being honest and upfront. Say, well, this is what I can do. This is what I can offer. Happy to let you know what you could do at the current stage, and if you want to proceed, then we go from there.
So you're quite good at the indifference. So I used to, I had to technically understand sales because I didn't know how to act normal.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because I was just so awkward, and so like there'd be different types of closes. So one would be the indifference, which is, I'm not that bothered.
Yep.
That makes it more valuable because why is he not so bothered? Does he have so many people? Or assumptive would be like, you were just leading them that direction.
Yep.
Or optional is where they feel in control, but you're giving them options. Right. It's actually a hidden assumptive in a way.
Yep.
Like is morning or afternoon better for you? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that you want to align with those things. But when you called someone, did you ever think about like saying their first name versus saying their whole name? Did you ever think about like tonality, or you just were a guy that called?
I would just sort of call and just use your first name. It was just basically trying to get the call and get somebody to say, yes, happy to talk to you.
I get it. So empathetic and genuine. It's kind of your...
It is.
Care about them.
It is, and I think anybody, if you can show a bit of care and a bit of empathy, then people sort of open up to you. As long as they know that you're there to help them out, then that's fine. But it is tough because obviously even those people you look at selling at the malls, they're standing there and holding things out. They have a little, whether makeup or whatever else, and say, "Oh, yeah, can you try this? Have you tried this?" And you think, "Oh no, I'm good, thanks."
You don't need the makeup.
No, don't need the makeup. Right? I need a whole pile, but not that. But yeah.
Imagine if you turned up in makeup. If you're in drag, I wouldn't judge you. It'd be good content.
Oh, you would, but it'd be probably different than another story out there.
Yeah, no. True. Yeah, there'd be a bit of hate.
Yeah, social media, the rest of it. So
you're cancelled now. You can't say that.
No.
Yeah. What do you think? Because I used to think about why do I tend to be more afraid of people than other people, it seems, but it seems we were all pretty scared. But what do you think has led to you feeling introverted?
It's just all, I guess, comes back down to everybody. Nobody likes rejection, and when things are going well, and if personally, to be honest, school wasn't also the best of places for me, and
they pick on you.
It was pretty tough. Yeah, it was pretty tough there.
What, teachers or students? Or?
I think myself, to be honest. And kids can be cruel, especially if the things, questions are asked and you don't know. Seems to be quite basic, and you get a bit disappointed.
About the intelligence.
Yeah, the intelligence side of things, and you sort of knock yourself back a little bit. So,
did you recognise what? Like it was your style of learning? Because if you can.
No. Like to be honest, I've got dyslexia. And my kids have all got it as well. But saying that, they've all done extremely well. They all went to 7th form. They got through 7th form, year 13. So and I take my hat off to them. They've done, they did really well. But obviously back in my day, to be honest, dyslexia, there was no support. And dyslexia, just something that wasn't looked at.
So they would just everyone would be like, "Oh, you're an idiot," because you keep trying to stutter through some words or didn't understand them.
Pretty much spelling, yeah. You're always in when they do in the groups to begin with. You're always in the bottom groups, and you always,
And they give you shit.
Yeah, you get a bit of stick.
So which teaches you not to communicate?
Yeah, just bottle up in your bit of yourself, and that's why you do what you do when you find something that you're sort of okay at, and other people think, "Oh yeah, cool, he's doing that." He's done really well. Then you focus and do a bit more of that.
What are your thoughts on situational confidence versus core confidence? I see situational confidence as you have a competency in an arena.
Yep.
Did you find it helps you in other areas, or how have you not divided your identity just on your sporting?
Oh, crikey, yeah. Well, I haven't done that. Like everything was around my confidence was around my sport, which is why I always did my sport. If I had a choice of going to training or doing something or doing homework or whatever, I'd always do sport. And that's where I was, and I guess my identity early on.
Was there a turning point, because you had to give it up?
Yeah, I had to give it up. When I got older, I got to a point where I always thought I was going to go to the Olympics and do other bits and pieces. Yeah. And I trained and competed with guys that did. And and I just looked and said, I'm not going to be putting in the work that I need to do, or I don't have the ability to get to that next level. So then, looked at other things to do. Still kept the sports sort of game on a bit of a social light, but then had to do a bit more. Left school obviously, and then looking for jobs. I had to think about where I want to be, because I never really did that at that particular time. So it wasn't until when I did get into the banking industry then it just seemed it was processed, so I didn't have to do a lot of stuff other than just look at the processes, work through the processes. Hey presto, you're away.
It would be pretty, like, I remember times when I used to have to look for jobs like retail and shit, and I was just like, it was just soul destroy. I worked at a place called Abracadabra.
Oh, yeah.
Where the magic happens, magic kebabs.
Yep.
You work from like 5 p.m. to like 4 a.m.
Yep.
And I was like, is this all I can get? I don't have qualifications. Yep. Like, what do I even want to do? Like, did you have that existential crisis in a way where you just lost your sport? You're like, fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I did, because even when I got into the health and fitness industry back then, you didn't need to be qualified, but my sporting background gave me sort of, you could say, the expertise of what I was doing. So that was my sort of in, and then it went through, because that must have been in the 90s, and then there was health and fitness had a bit of a downturn, and there was a lot of closures and so forth. People weren't doing things, and so I ended up, I think coming back into the thing in regards to my income, I think I was only on like $8.40, and I was like an assistant manager at the time.
Wow,
and you just think, wow, back then, cheapest.
Could buy a house for that.
Yeah. So I thought, so I needed to look at other opportunities. And as I said, at that time with my girlfriend, she was working with the bank at the time, and an opportunity came up. So
you attest a lot of your confidence and growth to her, huh?
Yeah, I do. She's helped me out a lot.
How'd you pull it off? Where'd you see her?
Good question. I don't know.
You're sitting in the corner with your cards.
It was some friends, and we went clubbing as you did back then, and caught up at the nightclub, and
you opened it. You said hello.
Wow, was it now? Well,
you're nearby.
Her friend sort of introduced her friend knew my friend that I was there with. Bombed your way. Yeah. So there you go.
God, how daunting! Like, you see a girl that you think's beautiful, and you want to talk to her, and she's like over there.
I know. Yeah. Well, that was way back. It was interesting because it was back in Manukau and Coliseum, and I was actually upstairs. So I had a area upstairs where you can look down onto the dance floor.
VIP.
So no, it wasn't a VIP. But yeah, just and then they the two friends, the friends I was with, then they spotted each other, and then went down and.
Did you have a meltdown like when you're talking to you?
Your usual thing. You just rabbit on about nothing.
Oh my God,
quiet.
She's talking to me.
So there, then you go quiet, and and then in the car park, and then the friend, we're going to ask for a number, and I said, okay.
Oh, geez, that friend. Surely he's in your good books forever.
Yeah, crikey. So all happened there. Till what's that? 33 years ago.
They've been together that long.
Yeah. We just had our 30th wedding anniversary. So
Jesus. How old are you, man? You're older,
Davis.
No, we don't ask that. But personal.
I'm in my 50s.
You're in your 50s, yeah. All right. What do you... Because there's a lot of people that don't have relationships that long. Do you think you found things that are helpful just for you guys in terms of like a ritual of catching up, or, a community, always have a cohesive front?
Well, we I guess just mutual respect for one another, and we're also sort of faith-based as well. So, we just, we've definitely been through our ups and downs as well, to be honest. And it's, I guess we look at it in regards to, our faith and just, our mutual respect and love for one another. That's,
Respect is interesting.
You do. And these things that you do that you regret, business and so forth, and decisions you make, and it doesn't always go right, and you beat yourself up, but the other person sort of stands by you. I think that's real true love when you
That's interesting because you sort of hear love described as infatuation and romance that dies eventually, and the ones that seem to last is that respect. And then you see those, loveless marriages for years where they resent each other.
Yeah. No, you still got to have that respect, but still love. We still go out when we can and so forth. Like I said, we've had 4 kids, so we've it's been pretty busy for us over that period of time, and we focused them in sport as well. It was their sort of thing as well. So trainings during the week, weekend sports, driving around 4 different kids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's pretty busy life for us originally. So
how do you make that? I'm just pushing this button. How much? Like, I know I'm staying on this, and we'll talk about loans and whatnot. But it's just that's a rare thing, and it's not saying that it was perfect and it was easy. With the juggling of family and also with love, with romance or so, how do you either find time or navigate that, or do you create boundaries with your kids, like you can't do this so we can have time for each other?
Well, we were both very, very family orientated, so basically we did everything with our kids for our kids. So even now, like, wife will say, I'm just going to shoot down the shops, and I'll just say, well, I'll come with you. Jump in the car and we'll just drive down the shops. So just, it's just always want to, I guess, be with her and so forth, and likewise. So, yeah.
So you just use every moments that come?
Yeah.
Because there's not many?
No, make the most of it. Yeah. We're going to go on our... We didn't really do much for our 30th, but we're going to do a European trip for 6 weeks, beginning of next year. So
cool.
Yeah. It's our sort of big trip together.
Have you, on the fatherhood side of things, I imagine, I don't have kids or a partner, just FYI, that's what I'm learning from you, mate. I would feel a fear of not having the respect or pride of my children, like I'm not a man that they would be proud of, or the expectation or doing something wrong.
That's sort of, I guess, another thing, being introverted in regards to my business side of things. I've always tried to be there for my kids, and I guess being self-employed did give me a bit of freedom that I could do what I wanted when I wanted, and the business sort of it ticked over. It did okay, but it meant that I could spend basically all the trips at schools, primary schools, intermediate, high schools, trips away, sports events. I was always there. And my wife was as well. And in fact, it got to the point that obviously if something came up, the school would ring us, hey, are you available? Yep, sure, we'll do that. Just to make sure that the kids already knew that we're always here for them.
What do you think's important about life? Because I'm learning more, like, I'm similar. I work a lot because I love it. But then if there's key moments where important people in my life are going through something, or we want to have a moment where we're just eating breakfast together. Yep. And I'm going to work at 2. I might work till midnight, but what do you think is important in life that you've learned over the years, and what you used to think it was? Yeah, no, I think a good balance, but also sacrifices. Like I know even with the times that I spent with my kids, in a way I sacrificed my work because I would beat myself up and think, I should be doing some work and getting some business on board. But I always put my kids first, to be honest. So, and yet I know a lot of business owners and so forth that, very successful ones, but then that was their life for, a good 10 years, just absolutely working and, What is success?
Yeah, well, that's it. And you just come back to family life and so forth as well. And I guess I like to think that my kids know that no matter what happens, we're always there, and nothing's more important than when they are. So
it's beautiful, mate. You're not a sentimental man, but you're fucking throwing it out there, aren't you? You don't want to say the words, but they're coming out.
Yeah, I am. I'll start to cry soon.
Yeah, I feel free. There's only been one podcast that's been deleted, not by me. Because that's how I normally talk with people, is I understand like deep shit about them, but then what happens is they share too much, and then they're like, oh, I don't want to post it. I'm like, okay, well, I won't do that. So,
yeah.
So what was your first moment you started, but how long has it been running now? being self-employed?
I've been 22 years.
Oh, well, you're in the top 1% of businesses because you didn't fail.
Yeah, well, that's it. But it's been through some hard times though. Obviously the financial markets, 2008 and COVID and all the other bits and pieces that go through, and all the regulatory changes over the years. At times you think, oh my goodness, can I do this?
Yeah.
Do I want to do this?
Well, because you talked about, feeling stupid and getting rejected, and then also this chip on your shoulder around, getting your self-worth from sport.
Yep.
So and then you had this family first. Oh, I'm a failure at business, or I'm doing real good, and that's a shit show, mate.
Yeah.
What was when you first started? So you started handing out cards, and what went through your mind of oh my God, I'm going to do this. Oh my God, also I don't want to fail. Yeah,
well, it was a big call because when I left the bank, I used my super obviously to cover our costs to get going. So it was a good 6 months, to be honest, to get the business sort of cranking up.
What, first sale in 6 months? Because that's not uncommon.
No. It was I had a lot of contacts through the bank, so I kept those contacts and I utilised them to keep us going to begin with. So Jesus. I had a lot of stuff sort of happening at that particular time, but obviously needed to. That was only one stream.
But family mortgage or anything?
Yeah, family and friends and so forth.
No, I mean, was your financial? Did you have your girlfriend there? Obviously, 30 years. Your wife now.
Yeah. She originally was with the bank, so she helped out. Okay. In those days, she worked in the international department. And even now, you can't even buy any foreign cash or anything from the banks. You've got to go to those exchanges places now. But she was that's where she specialised in, and but she was a go-getter. That what really, really attracted me to her as well. She was so confident and opposite to what I was.
We're going to say
opposites attract.
Yeah, they do.
So in the early days, going to the open homes and having the open home register list, to phone a few clients up to see if they wanted to borrow, and she would happily make those phone calls for me. So she made a whole pile of phone calls on my behalf.
Jeez, you must be good at chat.
I was just wanting to get in and help out. It was all the, getting that connection going and the rejection, because there was a lot, like anything, when you go through open homes, no, yeah. So, it's just, kept going and getting a system in place. And once you got a few and then you got a couple of referrals on, which was good, referrals from other clients. That's always a big plus.
Rejection's a special thing.
It is. It's you've got those that sort of water off a duck's back, and others that sort of take it a bit more to heart.
Yeah,
it's what I did. And I still do that every now and then. I think, what did I do wrong? What have I done? And I'll sort of beat myself up at times for negative stuff. But then you just look back and just said, the amount of people that I have been able to help, and the positive stuff. Then
Well, there's something I'm learning about now. So I have clients as insurance brokers at the moment, and I didn't really get insurance. I thought it was bullshit, if I was honest. And then they kept telling me about these claims, and I'm like, oh my God, And then I was talking to someone the other day. He had heart failure. His wife is dying of cancer, and he's got kids that are young.
Yep.
And there's no one to look after them. And their mother-in-law came from another country. And she was meant to look after them, but she doesn't know if she can stay because of visa stuff.
Yeah.
So, and they're just financially ruined.
Yeah.
And you don't, and I think the best salespeople are the ones that care more about the person, cares about themselves.
It is, and they promote the stories. Like I did do insurances as well. I had insurances through the bank, and I did them a little bit before it became even more regulated. I had, there was a couple of, there was one lady particularly that basically I did her mortgage, then went through the insurance side of things. And she wasn't going to take it to begin with. She had her grandmother was in her 90s and her mum was in her 70s, and they had no family history of anything whatsoever. And but I said, well, at that time the cost was pretty minimal. So we just took out a little bit of life insurance and a bit of trauma. And then within 6 months of her taking out the policy, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And she got a payout half the mortgage was cleared from it. And I look at that in regards to, I've been at the right place at the right time and been able to help out. But there's stories like that, and that's what they use. At the end of the day, you always live in your own bubble. Like if there's nothing that happens around you or your family, then you don't think about the worst things. But if you've got family members or really close friends that have suffered things, then you use those and you're grateful that it is there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is, and I, early on, to be honest, we were all pretty fine, and I lived in my own little bubble. Sometimes a lot of, Kiwis, that's fine, she'll be right. But then it gets to that point where suddenly it's not right. What happens? Where do you go from there? So, it's just, one of those things.
There's, so the clients have on average 300 to 1,000 clients in the insurance space, and they're all telling me about stories, which is crazy. It's just such a small sample size, like 27 cervical cancer, or flew off into, they killed themselves by crashing a plane to the ocean. It's like I think that's kind of the fallacy of life, so you just think you're not going to die.
Yeah, it is, and you don't get the like we only see the insurance companies put out these figures in regards to the amount of claims and things that they've gone through, and you look at them and you think, holy moly, they make a lot of money, they really do, but then they also do spend quite a lot of money as well. And health insurance now is just so expensive.
Yeah.
And if you've got it and you can shoot straight through, see your specialist and all the rest of it, then hey, that's great. If you don't have it, then you're waiting on the public system, and we all know what the public system's like at the moment. It's dire. So it's just, it's one of those things. Again, if you're in the industry, you see all this information, you have all this stuff, and you're trying to put it out there. But if you're a person that's in your own little bubble, that there's been no issues, I'm fine, I'm good, then you just don't worry about it.
And they think you're just chasing commission. Dude, if it's you, you're cooked.
Yeah, exactly. And the hard thing with our insurances, and I, talking to a few others, it's really cheap when you first start out, and you don't really need it. I remember when I was working for the health and fitness industry, and there was a guy, as soon as I turned 18, bang, he was calling me every second day to say, hey, you should have, and he was sort of through family sort of friend, you should have insurances, and I'm thinking, I'm 18, I got nothing to go, I don't need any insurances as such. But yeah, as you get older and when it becomes more important, then it becomes way more expensive, and you've got that with everything else as well.
Well, a lot of my time is because I call the leads that I get for them through Facebook, and a lot of them don't qualify. Yep. And some do. Yep. But it's more, I'm telling the ones that need it no, because they can't. Yep. It's crazy, eh? Do you do just mortgages, or do you do insurance still as well?
I started off with just doing mortgages, and then I went from mortgages to insurances. Yeah. So I did them both, and then the regulatory requirements, it just took up more time. Like doing insurances was quite heavy, in regards to making sure, you're giving the right advice, the type of cover they want, is it going to be sufficient. And always, you'd always quote the high end. You'd always say, ultimately, if you can afford it, this is what you need to have. And it covers everything. But realistically, to be honest, and cost-wise, it's hard to do that. So then it's just then scaling back and say, okay, well, where's your budget is, this is these things that you should have. And go from there. You can always reduce the amounts or reduce your excesses and the time, so forth as well. But as I said, generally when you first selling to somebody young, a first home buyer, and they're only in their mid-20s or late 20s, then insurance is pretty cheap for what it is. You can get full cover for probably about $120, $130 back then, but as the time goes by, the years go by, that 120, 130 that you started off with is now $250, $300, $400 a month on top of your others. So you're having to prioritise where you're at. But then you think, can I afford not to have it? But then, can I afford to have it?
Yeah, it's a balance.
So it is. So it's trying to convince people to have something that they don't think they need.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard.
And then resent you for paying it every year.
Yeah, resent you to do it. And then you get a lot of complaints in regards. Obviously, you sold me that it wasn't quite what I wanted, or it doesn't cover a particular condition that I had. So therefore, you may have had a wrong product. So it's just it's definitely an interesting field. Mortgages are a lot straightforward. You application. You want your mortgage. This is what you can borrow. This is what your repayments are going to be. This is how you should structure it.
It seems like a hard business model. You know what I mean? Mortgages.
Yeah, it is.
Like you're a perpetual hunter.
Yeah. Always, and that's why I guess I get a buzz for the approvals, and I get a buzz from existing clients that have referred on, because then that shows that you did a good job and they appreciate it. So, and it's it's the biggest purchase anybody makes, buying their own home.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Huge debt nowadays. Yeah, what's the average? I think something like 560,000 mortgage just for a first home buyer to begin with. So,
well, I was So I used to be an investment advisor. I deregistered recently and just given my clients over to my business associate. Right. And I was talking to this couple, really good incomes. They're going to be debt-free at 65, and they're in their early 20s.
Yep.
And they're in the top 1% of earners. And I'm like, that's fucked.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious with mortgages, what's been the most successful acquisition channels? Is it partnerships? Is it existing client bases? What do you do in your day to day?
Very much. I think with your existing database. Yeah. You've over the years you've built up a good database there, and it's just a matter of just making sure that you keep in contact. Again, our background with our IT, they send out newsletters every month and so forth, just touching base. And if you've got any questions, and always reviewing. Mortgages is also one of those things that people just tick along. You got your rates. It's not until your rates mature that you then actually start looking at other options. But even then, other banks' rates are pretty much the same, within 0.05, 0.1 of each other. So I guess it's just making sure you're up front with the clients where you're at. You've got all your mortgage eliminators, all these processes in regards to trying to reduce your debt within 10 years, which are great, but it also still comes back down to financially what you can do. Because I still look at it at the end of the day, you've got X amount of income, and of that income, X amount can be utilised for your living costs and so forth, and if you've got kids coming on board and so forth, so your disposable income gets smaller and smaller. So it's just sort of making sure that, okay, even if it's sort of an extra $50 or whatever, it's just putting something aside or put on your mortgage to reduce it. But everybody's still different. Everybody's still different.
How does it work? So you sign someone up, you get this upfront thing, and then you review, but there's not much to review. Is it you just hey, get it again, and then the bank rewards you for telling them to get it again?
With the banks, they do. Some of the banks, to be honest, not all. Some banks pay trail, others don't. It's just upfront. So, but they do look in regards to ongoing support. So, for a client, if you do a mortgage, then you want to provide good support for them as well. So it's obviously just reviewing their mortgages each year or 2 years, just touching base. Has things changed? Are you able to put a little bit more funds into your mortgage? Or if they've got kids now and so forth, so therefore it's just a matter of trying to get through minimising where they're at. And it changes within the economic environment. COVID was a prime example. Rates went from 7% down to 2%. And then you're sort of saying to clients, these rates aren't going to be around for a long time, forever. So make the most. So if you can afford to pay more, or keep your repayments at the same level, then you're better off because you pay more principal to reduce them. But of course, like now, jeepers, I'm still getting calls from those from 3.5 now jumping up to 7, and it's it's a big impact.
Yeah, what's your take on that about us being in a recession? From a property standpoint, because they're all coming off their fixed mortgages soon, huh?
Yeah. There's another big lot over the next 6 months that's obviously looking to play in regards to inflation, which is just a matter of trying to keep people to stop spending, really, stop spending, so that get things under control, and then from there. It's one of those things. You look at the years, the market's up and down all the time. We've gone from 5% to 6 to 7, appearance in the 20s. There's always, it's just a matter of making sure that you're in a position at this particular time and be aware where things could go in the future.
Do you do anything around setting expectation? Because I would, I looked over the history of mortgages and, it got up to 9 or 11% quite recently, in the last decade or so. Yep. And it averaged out quite high, and people coming in with this mindset of 3%. I'm like, let's plan for 7.
Yeah.
So how do you manage expectations of clients, or what is the process you go through?
Well, it is a difficult one because nobody knows what everybody's carried their crystal ball around to work out where they're at. But you can only look in regards to what's coming out from the Reserve Bank, the economists, where they see things are at. Because there's always changes, and even now I just sort of say, with the unfortunate wars that are going on, Israel and so forth, and still with Russia and so forth, they're still gobbling up a lot of fuel and other expenses, grain, and these all are flow on to us. So nobody knows what's going to happen in the 6 months' time.
Yeah,
it's tough, but it's just making sure that the clients are aware that this is as I said, this is what the cost is going to be. And then you can say, well, if there's a 2% increase in the interest rate, well, this is where your rate payments are going to then go to. So you can preempt, but you can't guarantee or predict what's going to happen.
What do you measure on, like 7% or 9%? Or?
Yeah, well, the bank's just gone up to 9% for their servicing rate now. So they're picking that it's going to be harder. It's going to go up. But then, like a lot of clients I've been talking to, I've been sort of saying that the Reserve Bank, they've indicated that end of 2024, 2025 is when we should be back under control, our inflation. And as soon as our inflation gets down, well, then the fixed rates should start to drop, the short-term ones. They should start to drop. So New Zealand predominantly a 1 year, 2 year short-term fixing, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And you don't want to lock yourself in long term suddenly to find out that rates have dropped back down and you're stuck. And there was a period there, I think they were in that 2008 when there was the rates were up at sort of 8-9%, and then they went down to 5%. And I had clients looking for break costs, and they'd locked in for sort of 2-3 years when they were going up, thinking, this is going to get really bad. So a couple of clients quotes back from the banks, $25,000, $35,000 for break costs. You think, it's a tough industry. You don't want to lock people in long term only for things to suddenly change.
Can you explain those penalties a little bit? So break costs, so you lock something in for a period of time, and if you break sooner than the expected period of time, there's a cost. And it varies between banks, or what's the under?
Yeah, it does vary slightly between the banks, but the general principle is once you lock in, if you lock in for 5 years, then the banks have borrowed the money and they've expected X amount of interest over that 5 years. So that's their income. You suddenly go and break it and you jump onto a lower rate, which is, all very good, but it means that the bank still has to pay the money that they've borrowed to give to you back. So they then pass that break cost penalty onto the clients. So it's really the difference between the rate you actually locked in at and the wholesale rate at the time you first did it. So if there's a difference over 1 to 2 to 3 years, then
Interesting.
It is. It was funny, like way back when I was actually with Westpac, and they used to, if you were in credit, so if you were to break your rate, but you find that the rates had gone up, and you could reinvest it, or the bank could reinvest it at a higher rate, they used to give you the credit back. They were one of the only banks that did, but then they stopped. So even though the banks may make a little bit of money off your break costs, you get zero now. You don't get anything. But it's hard to get one over the banks.
No, they win.
They win no matter what.
Except when it comes to compliance, they're getting fucked.
Yeah,
it's a lack of a better word. So what? Yeah. Do you know much about the banking system and like fractional? Was it reserve banking, whatever it is? Is that what it is in New Zealand?
Yeah, not. I don't get that deep in it. It's just the lending. Like the Reserve Bank still sets the
Yeah, can you explain that?
money.
Like, the official cash
Yeah,
rate
yeah.
and how that impacts banks and
Yeah,
lending.
well, that's just the official cash rate is just the rate that the banks borrow their money sort of at, and then obviously the banks put their margins on it to lend that money out to other people. I guess that's the difference between when people look at short-term rates and long-term rates. So in New Zealand, we're predominantly short-term 1 and 2 year fixed terms because our economy is small, so our banks generally borrow more offshore and then lend it out to others. We borrow our money generally from America and the UK. Australia's opposite because they're so big, so much bigger than us. 80% of their mortgages are on floating rate because it's their own economy that's generating it. They don't have to borrow as much. So their floating rates are actually lower than their fixed rates. But in New Zealand, we borrow a lot more. So therefore people want more certainty of what's going to happen. So we generally fix more of our rates because our floating rate, because obviously if things change, our floating rate's up to 9.5% now. So, yeah.
So because we're getting all this money from the UK and the US and we need some certainty from our customers, that's why we lean towards the fixed.
Yep.
And then Australia's got all this pool of money so they know a bit about what they've got so they can go the floating and roll it up.
Yeah. So they float a lot more than, they're fixed.
Is there anything else that impacts it as a certain? Because a lot of mortgage brokers I've talked to say, we don't really want to go beyond 3 years as a general rule.
Yeah. Well, that's because things change. Things are always changing up and down, and we don't, because as I said, if you lock it in longer than 3 years and suddenly there is a downturn or the markets get better and our rates drop, then you're locked in. I remember going to America, they used to have 10-year, they had 10-year, 15-year fixed rates. But their economy's a lot more stronger and a lot more stable, but their rates were like still on that time, I think 3-4%. But I think we used to have that. We used to have a government bond rate. I think then you could lock it in basically for the length of your loan.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but we're talking about 50, 60 years ago on that.
Yeah, jeez, mate, you're a lending guru, right? Look at that, 56 years
no,
ago.
well, I had a couple of friends I know that they got a loan, a housing loan through the government, and it was, locked in rate for the length of their mortgage.
I mean, if it's low enough, you'd almost, like, if it was like a 1% no-brainer.
Yeah, I think you really should be thinking anything under 5%. To be honest, you should think about locking long term. If you go back history wise, it's because my sort of time with the banks, it was generally around 7.5 was the average rate. So anything under 7% used to be a very good rate.
The 80s, were you there for that?
Yeah, through there.
20%.
So they do that, and then it all changed because at the same time, we used to have 20% deposit. Then it went to 95. You only had to 5% deposit. That was generally introduced also through the UK because I think they were doing 100% at that time because the markets were so strong. They didn't see that much of a fall and the risk was a lot lighter. But then, of course, as soon as you get a few issues that come through, then everybody starts to think, there's more risks here, so things change and just the world economy. I remember going to a seminar with Bernard Icky, and he was saying, I think that was just prior to 2008, and he said that one of the biggest changes in the world economics was the mobile phone, because suddenly you could actually ring international, you could order international, you could do anything you like through this device. And it cut off all this other stuff, things when you go processing. Suddenly you could go, rather than having to go to a shop to buy, some goods from the UK, and obviously they would have to order it, they would have to get transported. Now you can just ring up and you can just go online and order whatever you want. My kids are ordering things online from, the UK and all the rest of it, and within 3 or 4 days, here it is, it's at the doorstep.
Remarkable.
You just think, man, technology and the way things have changed. Yeah. And also everybody wants things now. Nobody wants to wait. If you had to wait, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people jumping up and down and thinking, what's happened? Where are you? It's just, it's just the way it is. And I guess the economy is exactly the same. It's just getting faster and faster. Nobody wants to wait for anything these days.
Well, I asked the advisor just before, like, where they think mortgage brokers going, because I tried to ask him and I was a bit harsh to him. I was like, what is the point of a mortgage broker and why would banks pay them? But I get the bank, like, you're qualifying and nurturing a business for them and handling that side of thing, and then you're structuring for the client things that make sense for them and they feel reassured that you're doing all the stuff. Where do you think it goes? Do you think like financial markets start worrying about you guys getting paid too much or not enough, or does the model have to change because online applications get better or something?
Well, I think that it's always changing, and technology, you're right, there's a couple of now companies that are all online. They don't deal with anything, but you've still got to go through your processes and show that your due diligence and that you're not putting the client in any financial bad positions, and I guess that's what the banks look at, because you're taking that away from them. Because in the past, it was the banks that would have to do the approvals themselves, and they would take the responsibility. Now that goes to the broker to make sure.
Really?
To make sure that the broker's collected all the right information, got the right ID, and processing it correctly. So,
what happens if you don't? Do you get fined?
Yeah, then you get fined. You can get heavily fined. In fact, I just read an article yesterday of a broker down the line that's used to see it a lot more sort of 20 years ago, but not as much now. Where fraudulently, doing documents and using fictitious names and so forth to get loans for money for themselves.
I was talking to someone saying that they went to the graveyard and would sign people up for life insurance.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's your name and a date of birth and so forth.
Well, you got it all, don't you?
Yeah. But that's why, it's one of those things. I think it's wheeled out, and that you systems get in place to help people, but there's always those others that trying to get around it, and it's those people then upset the bulk, and it becomes tighter, because then they've got to try and put more regulations in to make sure that these others don't get scammed and diddled and so forth.
Well, I think it's important that it happen. I think a lot of one-man bands that are wanting to hire are cooked, because I think when was it 6 years ago, I could sign up to be a registered financial advisor. Paid my levy, it was like $500, and then boom, I'm off. I'm a financial advisor selling funeral insurance. And there was still a high churn. It was like a well-remunerated role. Maybe the culture wasn't that good. But they still lost a lot of people. Now you've got to hire someone, they need to have 8 months and a qualification, and then come in, and then you probably pay them 50% of what they might get if they go to the bank or something.
It's definitely a lot tougher now. We all had to do our level 5 financial qualifications. But we didn't in the past, but obviously regulations required us to do that. So theoretically, every broker that's there is qualified to a level 5 standard. In the past, when I first started, I was just a banker. Majority of brokers at that time were just ex-bankers, managers and so forth that had had enough and wanted to do a bit more themselves. So they had the knowledge that was there, but in those days, qualifications, or I guess you could say, the respect of the industry type thing, wasn't there. But now it's a lot tighter, and they're making sure that those that are working in the industry are actually respected, and they've qualified, and they know what they're doing.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, if it changes public perception, because I don't know if it necessarily increases the competency. Like I talk to a lot of advisors, and I don't know much about mortgages, but I know a lot about the investment side, because that's what I did. And their advice and sales process, I'm still like, you didn't read the paper properly. That's not how they taught you to do it. So I wonder if it changes public perception. Do you think it would improve? Because the way I used to sell, like, I didn't know nothing. I was just reading a script.
Yeah. Well, no, it does. Like we've got our 6-step process that you've got to go through to make sure you collect the right information, and everything's got to be recorded now as well. So, and that takes all time as well. So all your conversations and so forth has to be noted down. So if they come back to you, because we find that everything's pretty much, it's all good with clients. The hard thing is that when there's a change in rates, that's when there's a lot of can be complaints. People might say, well, hang on, you told me to lock into here, and now the rates have gone all the way down here. If I break out, it's going to cost me X amount. But you can only do what you're doing at the time. As I said, you don't have a crystal ball, you don't know what you're going to do, but it's just trying to make sure that you can do the best by your client at that time. And I guess that's, that introduction of the triple CFA, which everybody's been going on the last 2 years about as well. And that was supposed to help, those people going to the loan shark shops for those quick, short little deals and so forth to get them over time, pay in. But that affected everybody else, even those that were doing standard, or you could say regulatory lending that were monitored by the banks, and by they got caught up in it all as well. Because really, once you go through the process and you confirm everything, because at the end of the day, you still got to confirm your incomes, you still got to confirm your deposit, and you still got to confirm that you've got a good banking, transactional history. If those things are all good, then hey, it's fine. It's when they're not good that people start, altering things, changing statements, or doing things that they shouldn't be doing to get things passed. And I know there was a lot when things got tight back in 2008 and so forth, and the banks stopped lending. They closed up just to hold on to their money and reduce until their environment got better.
So you couldn't even sell anything if you wanted to?
Yeah, well, you could, but it was only for the very, very good. Anything that was borderline was pretty tough.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but the banks are the gatekeepers to the financial markets. At the end of the day, when they want money, they'll open up their policies. When they don't, then they close the policies. And we've still got that now with the first home buyers. Lending over 80%. So those that are borrowing sort of 90%. The Reserve Bank's requirements now have gone from 10%. So the banks used to only be able to lend 10% of their book value, and it's now increased to 15%. But there were some stats that came out last year of that 10% that the banks were allowed to lend. Their books they were only lending 5 to 6%. So they were still pretty conservative for what they were doing. They could have lent a lot more, but again, it just comes back to that risk side of things. They just didn't want too many people falling over, so they only took the cream of the crop, you could say. And
Makes sense.
even now, it's just it's still being monitored. 15%, but it's still pretty hard for first home buyers.
Yeah. Well, I would struggle with someone having leverage over my income.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean? Like, it's convenient the same way that I pay taxes and people handle the roads. Like, there's benefit. Like the bank does the thing, so I don't have to worry about it. But or them determining how much I get paid and when I get paid, I'll be. I don't know if I could live.
Yeah. But even that changing. Like I just see that the banks are now processing transactions over weekends now. So where in the past, if you came to Friday night, and an AP was theoretically due out on the particular date, which fell on a Saturday, and that would then be processed the next business day, which would then be Monday night. Yeah. And people, that's fine. But now they're processing on Saturdays and Sundays as well. So if you don't have sufficient funds, like you might, that's okay, this transaction's not going to happen until Monday, I'm fine, I'll get paid or I'll transfer money. Now you can't sit there. You've got to need to make sure that you've got the funds, because it'll go out on the weekend now. So things are still changing. Things are happening all the time.
Got to keep up, mate.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty tough at times to. Yeah.
Well, speaking of keeping up, you've done a whole podcast.
Oh, crikey.
It's done 59 minutes, mate.
Jeepers.
Yeah.
See, talk a little bit more when you know something, but when you don't.
Talking about your feelings, wasn't it?
Yeah, crikey. Yeah, got a bit emotional.
Yeah, well, you're done now, but thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for inviting me.